Welcome back to the Vet Talk Platform podcast. I'm Michael, and I'm thrilled to have you join us for this special episode. Today, we're diving into the journey of transitioning from military to civilian life, and we have a very special guest to help us explore the topic. Our guest today is Shane Clark, fellow veteran and a friend of mine. Fun fact, Shane and I share the same birthday. Shane has navigated the challenging path from military service to civilian life, and he's here to share his experiences, insights, and advice. His story is both inspiring and enlightening, and I know you'll gain a lot from hearing it. This podcast could have lasted for several hours. But before we dive in, I want to mention a quick note about the audio quality. During the recording, I had the wrong microphone selected, so while Shane's audio is clear, mine might sound a bit different than usual. Thankfully, Shane did most of the talking. I apologize for this oversight. Appreciate your understanding. So without further ado, let's dive into my conversation with Shane. Enjoy. How you doing, Mr. Clark?
But man, just enjoying the sun coming up, the birds and all that stuff out here. It's pretty nice, man.
Hell yeah. Where you at? Texas again?
Yeah, I'm about an hour southeast of Dallas. So I live closer towards like Terrell, out where they got like a Bucky's out there. Heading towards the Louisiana line.
Oh, okay. Heading towards what is that? Shreveport.
Yeah, Shreveport, right off of 20. I literally live right off of 20. I can hear everyone riding their motorcycles like idiots down 20.
Yeah. Yeah, the joy of being stationed at Fort Hood is you learn a lot about that area. Waxahachie and all them.
Dude, I play ball in Waxahachie all the time, man. I love Waxahachie. or as they pronounce it, Waxahachie.
Yeah. There's too many letters in there for that.
Yeah.
So I thought about having questions planned and everything like that. And I don't know. I figured it'd be best just to wing it and see what we get from it.
Yeah.
What are you currently doing? I don't know, for life, I guess.
So one of the big things that I've been doing, like the last like 3 or 4 years, the big thing for me is mental health. Even just teaching my kids about mental health. But I've been doing a lot more for myself, for my wife, for my kids, for mental health. Just working on that, and including those is have a great outlet. So one of the outlets that I use is I play travel softball. So get to travel all over the country, playing a kids game, man. Playing with other grown ass adults, trying to relive the glory days of high school. So
Right.
I work out a lot now. I live on 3 acres, so 3 acres doesn't seem like much, but out here it's a lot of work. So I spend my days just maintaining that and being able to just kind of have those mental health days that I need when I need them. But I'm enjoying the retired life now, I guess.
Hell yeah. You got a flat 3 acres? Or is it all wooded?
So it's partially wooded. It's like the front half is all nice grass that I have to keep cut, because Uncle Sam, reinstilled it that you had to have grass a certain height. So I cut most of it by ride-on mower, and then I have a lot of trees. So when we got hit with this last storm, I lost about 6 40-year-old oaks. So I
Oh wow.
spent a lot of time cutting that down too. Paul Bunyan ain't got nothing on me these days. But yeah, it's partially wooded, man. It's beautiful out here. I can see downtown Dallas's Reunion Tower from my house.
Wow.
Yeah, like I got cows, so when I pull up in the driveway, the neighbors' cows come up and say hi, so we know all the calves. So it's just kind of it's that country peaceful. Um, it's like I have grass for once in my life. I grew up in the desert. I lived in Tucson and El Paso, so I'd never seen grass before except for the fake stuff. So
Yeah.
now I actually have grass that I have to take care of. It's nice, dude. It's kind of weird, but
You're
takes a
allowed to
full
walk
8 hour
on
day just to cut the front yard to grass, and then I still have another 8 hour day in the back, and that doesn't include trimming up trees or none of that.
it. Yeah. Nobody yelling at you to get off the grass.
No, it's usually me yelling at the dogs to get off of the grass, but
Yeah. Right on. So I know a lot about your military background. Would you like to share with everybody else?
yeah. So I originally signed up to join the Navy. I was joining the Navy to be an engineman. I was actually supposed to go learn nuclear technology. Um, Went in. I had already gone to college. I went to Central Arizona College as a diesel mechanic. Um, Kind of got in that frantic thing because my wife was pregnant. So I knew military was going to be the route for me. My dad was a military man. My grandfather was a military man. So I went and joined the Navy. Ended up ended up joining the Army. The guy that recruited me remembered me from when I was about 5 years old, sitting in the front of my dad's college classes. So as I was walking out of the Navy office, frustrated, he called me and was like, "I remember you." So he suckered me into telling me that I could go be a tank mechanic at Fort Huachuca, Arizona. Um, Ironically enough, I was from Arizona and didn't know that you couldn't get to Fort Huachuca as a tank mechanic unless you were a staff sergeant. So I got stationed in Korea. I had a blast in Korea. Um, like I said, I went in as a cast of civilian acquired skills. So my school was pretty easy. I basically just tried to stay out of trouble when I was in AIT because I think I only had to take like a week's worth of classes, but I was treated like I was prior service.
Oh, wow.
So got to go to Korea after that. Had a blast in Korea. While I was in Korea, I got to spend a lot of time restoring some old military equipment down at the depot, um, which was super cool. I enjoyed that. I knew I wanted to get closer to home, so I tried to see what I could do after Korea to get to Fort Huachuca, and that was a no go.
Yeah.
My branch manager actually laughed at me, so um, which I completely understand now. So I signed up for El Paso, Texas. Um, I got there back in 2005 when First Cav, Fourth Brigade, First Cav wasn't even a thing out there. We were living out of hotel rooms, and our dining facility was a tent out there on Fort Bliss.
Oh my God.
I was one of the first 15 out there, like on some real stuff. It was crazy. So I spent another 8 years out there at Fort Bliss in the same company, in the same battalion. Literally, I was the last. When I left, I was the last like OG there from when I got there in the entire brigade. So it was really weird. I was a tank mechanic. Well, I was a track mechanic, but I worked on Bradleys, worked on tanks, worked on a lot of different stuff just because I had the experience with diesel engines before coming in. And then before I got out, I'd been injured on my first tour in Iraq. Before I got out, I had had surgery. They told me that they're going to medically discharge me. In the last year I was a an individual readiness training instructor. So anyone in 2012 that was going to Iraq, Afghanistan, from any of our major militaries, basically got sent down to Fort Bliss, and they had to deal with me as their instructor, teaching them how to survive in those combat environments. Um, Cool job. The master sergeant I worked for was the best over there. Really phenomenal senior NCO. And then I got out. Um, I got out. I had already had a bunch of ASC certifications and stuff, so I kind of had an idea what route I was gonna go. I knew I was gonna be a diesel mechanic because I've been doing it, almost my whole life at this point.
Right.
Um, and I was like, I thought I was pretty good at it, even when I got out dealing with some of the civilian problems. I thought I was pretty good at it. There were some other guys like I mean you were great with the Bradleys. I couldn't hold a torch to you on the Bradleys. You'd been working on them your entire career. I just kind of got like, hey, this is broke. It needs to be fixed. So I kind of got to figure out everything. I've worked on MLRSs. I've worked on the Paladins. I've worked on. I mean, so much stuff. I spent time rebuilding old 113s, old sea trucks, like
Oh yeah.
restoring them when I was in Korea. It was basically I had a career where I got to play with a lot of old stuff that needed to be fixed and was kind of the project that nobody wanted.
The Alpha 66.
There was a couple of them. I even made a one in Iraq on accident. Overheated the engine, transmission, the cooling tower, the steering components. Yeah, you don't aim to make a an anchor, but sometimes it happens.
So when you were at Bliss, they was the airfield there?
So the airfield was there. When I got there, it was very much the airfield was basically like nothing had been touched since the 50s. Like even our units, right behind the old the Centennial Club. Oh man,
Hmm.
Centennial Club. So where the Centennial was, those buildings right behind it, those old like 50s, those were our unit headquarters, like our battalion headquarters. Our company headquarters, we had to share a double wide office trailer. Um, our chow hall was a tent that got blown over back in late 2005, early 2006. But literally everything on the airbase was old and decrepit. It was actually segregated. Air defense didn't come over the bridge right there on Fred Wilson, the one that
Yeah,
says it's a great day to be a soldier.
yeah.
They didn't come
Leave all
over there
hope
because the
behind.
Cav Scouts used to beat them up because they could wear DCUs and we had to wear BDUs out there.
Oh my god.
I'm telling you, it was wild times. Like you'd have a bunch of these Cav Scouts in the bowling alley, and you'd hear, "If you ain't Cav," and you'd be like, "Oh no!" And then you already know the MPs are on their way. Um, and I mean, this is like back in early Fort Bliss, like 2005. It was I got there in July 2005, so it was kind of a crazy time because a lot of these Cav kids were coming out of basic and OSIT, so they were hard charging and thought they were better than the ADA. Heard a lot of heard a lot of funny things said about the ADA. Never seen anybody from the ADA that could really throw down in a fight when it comes to these Cav Scouts.
That's pretty crazy.
Fort Bliss used to be wild. One of my NCOs used to have a drag racing racket out there by the trailer park.
Oh my.
Yeah. Like there was all kinds of stuff. On my first tour, we had prostitution. We had they had a drug lab in one of the trailers. Um, I used to have the fire department used to run through the trailer park and break the water main. So I used to have mud wrestling events on Sundays. Um, when I tell you Fort Bliss was wild, it's what do you expect when you take 4,000 soldiers and dump them off in a trailer park?
Yeah.
Park mentality, and I grew up with that, so I was in my element, if you will. So
That's
Fort Bliss was fun. It was different back then. I mean, I remember when we would get off at noon, and it wouldn't be nothing to see all the NCOs drinking at a bar at 1 o'clock, and then you close the bar at 4 o'clock. But you're only going to work for 4 hours, and then as long as you stayed out of trouble, you're only going to work for 4 hours because we couldn't even get toilet paper. Um, Yeah, like we had no unit crest, we had no unit ID. We were basically having to go to the ADA and beg for stuff. And after the Cav Scouts beat up the ADA, you're not really getting anything.
right.
Um, so it was. they would just send us home. And I mean, there was times where like by 10 o'clock I would be given plasma, where you could get it was $200 twice a week if you gave plasma and you'd had the anthrax shots. So like almost the whole company would go down there and go give plasma, and then go to the bar afterwards. It was a crazy time. As things ramped up, it got a little crazier, but we spent a lot of time out at Doña Ana and White Sands. But it was cool, man. It was different back then. It wasn't like when you and I were there, where it was just like, oh, like you're here to work. Um,
Right.
they let us get away with some stuff. It was a different time until really like more people started showing up and more eyes.
I, I bet that's why they put that Sergeant Major Academy right there.
Well, the Sergeant Major Academy was there, so like we would
Oh,
like when we were at the Centennial, like you would have guys that were getting drunk mouthing off to the Sergeant Majors, and then we stayed in the Sergeant Major's hotel. And that was when I tell you like that was an experience. I remember one day having to work staff duty with my buddy, called him Kool Aid, and he saw what he thought was a chick banging her ass and a thong up against the glass, and he was like, "Oh damn! Like what's that?" And when it turned around, it was this guy that was, I mean, he's about the same size as me, 6'1", 250. Turn around, 5 o'clock shadow, like terrible lipstick on, glasses. Like turned around and like looked at us, and Kool Aid was mortified. But it was just like, and later on the same night, this same guy wearing the lipstick put a soldier through a solid oak door. Um,
gee.
yeah, like it was. Fort Bliss was a different time then. But yeah, it was cool, man. Came back from the first deployment, and like they had started putting the like all the facilities that now out there on the airfield. But I mean, like I remember, so out where our unit used to be, where 213 Cav used to be,
Yeah.
that's where they used to take us running from the Sergeant Major's Academy. And so when I would show up drunk every day, and like very very evident, you didn't even need a breathalyzer, but they would they would basically make us run a 10 mile through sand all the way out to where like 213 is in the bridge, um, and then back. So it was kind of their way of getting the good laugh at us for being idiots.
That's crazy. What was that transition like from South or from Korea to Fort Bliss?
So I mean, like temperature wise, like it was a big transition because Korea had a lot of humidity.
Yeah.
It's almost like getting off at Houston to smoke a cigarette when you're coming back home. Um, it's enough where you get out and you're like, oh, I don't like that. Like, let me go back on the plane.
Right.
That's kind of how Korea felt. Um, but then you get out to El Paso, and El Paso's super dry. It's in the highlands, or at least that's what they say. It's a different environment. The nice part about leaving Korea and coming back stateside for me was the fact that I didn't have anybody tell me I had a curfew.
Oh,
Um, so if I wanted to go drinking all night Saturday, or if I want to go do something, or like if I want to take a weather pass and go back to Arizona and go see my wife because the command didn't want to give me a pass for the weekend. If I want to take a weather pass, I was close enough where I could do that and get away with it. So I was happy about that. Because when I came back from Korea, my wife was pregnant with my daughter, and they told us like in less than a year, you guys will all be deployed. So like, you might as well not even bring your family. Like, you might as well just focus on training.
oh wow.
So my wife stayed there with my son, and then she was pregnant with my daughter. So at least she had a support system with her mom and my family and her family if she needed anything. Whereas in El Paso, like she'd be on her own.
Yeah.
But
eager just to leave.
yeah, it was an adjustment just to be able to go home and like have free time or like not have to live out in the field. Because when I was in Korea, we'd go to the field for 45 days at a time, and you come back for like 2 weeks. And I mean, they throw like a hellacious kegger and a barbecue up in Dragon Valley, but like you're going back in 2 weeks, and like the field sucks because you're living in steel buildings and they're firing tanks right next to it. So the whole time you're trying to sleep, the building's shaking, so you ain't getting no sleep.
Right.
Um, and then like like Korea was one of those places where you still do KP. Um, so like I didn't like doing KP because I was always of the mentality that like when you go on KP that's like you're a shitbag. So I wasn't fond on going on KP. So yeah, coming back stateside was definitely nice. As far as like army wise, it was a little bit of a change because over there year round, everyone all the time. Like your NCOs are up in the barracks, so I mean they're coming by your room, checking your room, and then like also like raiding your room for liquor. You know if they ran out of liquor on Friday night. So going to Fort Bliss, like it was kind of like man, like I don't even like seeing you at work. Like I don't even want to see you outside of work. So you might not see the NCOs all the time, and I totally understood it once I become an NCO because like I got a family. Like I can't watch over soldiers all the time. Like if you want me to watch over soldiers, like give me a mansion. Let them come live with me, but they ain't gonna like living with me. um, so yeah, it was the whole trailers was interesting. Because like I always knew the army as having barracks, Fort Jackson, Aberdeen, all over Korea, and then get to Fort Bliss, and they're like, yeah, we don't have, we're gonna put you up in the hotel. You're like, what do you mean? Like I have room? I'm in the army and I have room service. Like it doesn't get better than this. I'm like, I don't have to clean my room, but like I'm still cleaning my room because you still have the NCO that might come by and check your room, see if you have any liquor left over.
Right.
But it was then they put us into the trailers, and the trailers was you had three guys and then you had common areas, and that was they always put like the worst people together. So I had a guy that like I went on vacation and left some stuff in the fridge, and it was like tuna fish, a couple cans of tuna fish, some eggs and some cheese, and this guy made a tuna fish and cheese omelet and ate it in the bathroom, and I'm like, what's the matter with you? Why? Um um So yeah, that was interesting. Like we had some characters getting ready to go on my first deployment. Like we had so many that we actually held the record for rear detachment.
Wow.
Yeah, I think we had like I think we only went over like we didn't even go over like 40%. Like we should not have deployed, and they were still like, oh no, like we'll send them all over there. Like we're sorry, our chicks got pregnant. Our guys, had their feelings hurt or whatever. Because we had a lot of guys that were like claiming that they were mental. They were having mental issues and shit. And I mean, you're talking to guys that had like never been over, like the guy that never left the PLL office. So like, have you ever been mortared, dude? And like, no. So you were deployed, but you never left the PLL office, but you got PTSD, and that's why you need to get out. Like, okay, cool. But I mean, like they literally put anybody and everybody on rear detachment.
That's crazy.
But even like coming back from Iraq to Fort Bliss, after my first deployment, it was a change because they had done El Paso had done so much gearing up for all of the soldiers that were going to be there because they were already talking about First Armored Division was going to come.
Oh yeah.
So now you have an influx of possibly 100,000 soldiers and family members coming in. So that's when they started working on coming up with plans for all the new housing that's up there off of Dyer.
Yeah.
Put more housing up there. Um, they were redoing like all the. There was a place on Biggs Army Airfield that they used to call Bedrocks, and it's because it looked like something out of the Flintstones. And they literally told all the soldiers when they put them in those housings, like, "Hey, these have lead paint, so just be ready." So we came home and like they leveled those out, but they turned them into Sergeant Major's houses.
Jeez.
Yeah, so but like it changed. It was cool to see everything change. But it was just crazy to see how like it changed so quickly. Because even like the family dynamic, I came home for my first deployment. My son didn't even recognize me, so it was hard that there was that change. It's hard that like El Paso has changed so much that I don't even know where things are anymore. And I was just here, 15, 18 months ago. Um,
Wow.
the cool part about El Paso was when we did come back, they did throw like this big old parade, and they had like all these Vietnam vets that made it a big deal to make sure that we felt loved and appreciated when we come home, when we weren't feeling like baby killers.
Yeah, those guys get crapped on pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, just phenomenal Vietnam vets. The vets in the El Paso area are absolutely phenomenal. Great to talk to, coming back and kind of getting some of their experiences and understanding that they understand you just as much as you don't understand yourself. So,
Right.
but great guys to talk to. I had a lot of first sergeants and stuff retire out of El Paso that I absolutely loved, staying in contact with after I got out. I actually lived like right around the corner from like four of my first sergeants. Um, they were much cooler outside, but like a lot of them were super cool inside. Um, but it was cool to get back. The thing that was crazy was to watch how like while El Paso had changed positively, it had also changed very negatively too. There was a lot of drugs and gangs over there that kind of made it a little bit worse for people, and being not a broken, but a broke soldier. A lot of times you got to live in like the hood areas. So like I lived in the Northeast. First night living in the Northeast, had a guy get murdered in the alley behind my apartment.
Jeez.
Yeah. A week later, sitting on the porch drinking some beer with a couple of guys from out there at 4-1, and this guy gets stabbed in his neck like right in front of his apartment, like right around the corner from me. So I was like, yeah, this isn't a good place for me to be. So I ended up I moved an hour away from the base. Just because I needed to get away from it because I lived right there on the golf course,
Yeah.
um, and then lived in the Northeast, and that's kind of a rough area. But I've been lucky. Like once I got out, I I stayed close. I stayed in El Paso and Las Cruces area. Las Cruces is an amazing area, even for vets as well. A little more country. People are a little nicer than El Paso.
Yeah, I've been there a few times for the dirt track races
It's
and Ruby Tuesdays.
I used to work for the company that owned the racetrack out there. Is cool. We used to go out there for the Fourth of July shit.
Is that MVDT in
Yeah.
Slovakia?
Well, Royal Jones out of Las Cruces, New Mexico. I used to work at his Border and International dealership.
Yeah, he ran car 131.
Yeah, great dude. He used to go out there and destroy cars, just put on a good show for the people. Got a new one out there in Vado now. Instead of having El Paso and Las Cruces, he's got Vado. So it's good for him. Yeah, cool guy to work for. Love
Right.
working for him.
Do you have a plan when you were getting out?
Man, so if you ask a lot of people that know me, I've never really had a plan. I've kind of been on the whim, but I kind of knew I was going to be a diesel mechanic when I got out. I've been doing it for so long at that point. I grew up having to work on tractors and stuff like that out in the country. I lived out in a farming community outside of Tucson, Arizona. A lot of us grew up poor, so we had to fix all our own stuff. So we we all ended up in some form being mechanics. Some of us are out at the mines. Some of us, but I knew I was going to go into diesel. When I was in college, one of my mentors, his name was Dennis Ansbro. He worked at the Caterpillar shop in Tucson, Arizona. Taught me a lot of stuff about over the highway. So I knew that was kind of the route that I wanted to go. I didn't really want to get too much into the hydraulics and stuff.
Yeah.
So I knew that I was going to go to a truck service shop. Um, when I first got out, I went and ran a truck service shop. So I had every intention on being a technician. I went out and I was a general manager for Petro truck stops in their truck service shop. Um, I did that for about a year before I found out that there was some stuff going on that I just didn't want to be a part of. There was some theft going on, and I reported it, but they were taking a little softer of a stance than I would have. But basically told off the district manager and left the company. And then I went to go work for Rush Peterbilt in El Paso, and I worked over there for a while. Didn't really have a plan as far as what I was going to do there. It was just kind of figuring it out. I'd
Yeah.
applied at places like Rush Peterbilt as a service manager, coming out with experience even as a foreman. The problem is my resume, while all true, even still for my age now, people have a hard time believing that I've been able to accomplish what I've been able to accomplish. So I got a lot of no's. I was just like, all right, like I'll do my part. So I did. I worked at Peterbilt as a technician. Worked hard. Was one of their big engine building techs, working on C13s, C15s, C18s, even some of the oil field, going out to the oil field and doing some stuff for their natural gas compressors. Um, Ended up working on a trash truck one day and blew up a trash truck. Cost me about $40,000 to buy another block for it. It was a big boo boo. I'd never worked on one, and I told him I wasn't comfortable. And nah, you'll be fine. And put the connecting rod on backwards and fired it up. And we always did the thing where you beat the receiver dryer on the side of the frame, so it sounds like a rod knock. And pretty confident in my skills because I hadn't blown up an engine yet. So I revved it up and shot the number 3 piston out the side of the block, out through the ECM and into the parts department.
Oops.
Oops is correct. My service manager was definitely not a fan of me after that. um, so I had to put it back together. They got the sleeve kit. I had to put it back together. Luckily, it didn't damage any of the block. Put it back together. It still wasn't building oil pressure. So they ordered a new block. I put the block together, and it still wasn't building oil pressure. So months later, I ended up getting a check in the mail from Peterbilt because they realized that the block that they gave me was porous, and I got tired of not making money because of this stupid block, and I knew that like I'd done everything to spec and everyone had said. So I left and I went to go work as a contractor out there at the Striker Brigade. And so I was out at the Striker Brigade for like a week before all the contracts just fell apart.
Right.
So there was like 300 of us without a job. So that's where I ended up. I got a job out there, work for Royal Jones, and Doc Holiday out at Border International in Las Cruces, New Mexico. um, Doc Holiday is a direct descendant of Doc Holiday, phenomenal dude, but he's an engineer that when international doesn't know what to do with their trucks, they call him. Um, so I got to learn how to deal with a lot of these companies with him. Phenomenal dude. Met him through a buddy of mine named Dwayne that worked at Peterbilt with me. He said, "Yeah, man, Doc Holliday's the best." So I got to work with Doc Holliday and some other people out there. It was absolutely phenomenal. And then I got an opportunity to go work towing and recovery, which I did in the Army.
Yeah.
So like I said, didn't really have a plan. The money was better. Making like $35 an hour running a tow truck, and then building tow trucks. So so I did that, because I wasn't going to make that going back to Peterbilt, and it was hourly, and then plus commission. So I did that for about 3 years, and then I decided that I was over that, and I'd been working on my business, kind of in the background. I was building cars for people, and it was something that I've been doing for years. It was kind of something that started off was I was doing it for liquor, and then it moved from liquor to I couldn't drink as much liquor as people were giving me, so I was like, well, money works better. Um, so I ended up opening Old West Customs. Um, and so I kind of made Old West Customs a full time thing after I left the tow company. I had some time where I was able to go to school, and I was able to work on one of my projects, and I was like, like I need to do something not just for myself, but like I can make some good money doing this. So put all my heart and time into Old West Customs. Got to build all kinds of cool stuff. Did a lot of like air suspension stuff. But I also got to work on some cool projects with some big name builders. I got to go to schools with, I mean, just amazing people. I got picked to go to a Bailey class over like 3,500 other people, to go learn some metal shaping from guys like Christian Sosa. And,
Heck
um, so, like, I kind of took that in and ran with that, and really kind of put some time into Old West Customs. Was able to teach my kids a lot of stuff. My wife had been working in the shop with me for years, so she's smarter in the shop than I am. Um, she's better at body work and like all kinds of stuff than I am. She's really good with that stuff, but she's always been a big help with that. And then the kids were getting involved in it, so they were learning how to, like, my son knows how to fabricate. He can tear down any engine and put it together and diagnose, and I mean tear down
yeah.
suspension systems, and yeah, he's for being a 21-year-old kid, he knows more than most of these kids because most of them can't even change a tire.
Yeah.
But like they got to learn some cool stuff, and then was it back in like 2015, 2016 time frame? We got invited to be a part of a project for Pawn Stars. I got asked by another builder to come out and help him out, and basically help him rebuild this fire truck because I had a little bit more experience with some of the ins and outs of the equipment, and then just knowing some of the older techniques for um, like metal forming and metal shaping, because on the fire truck that we built, they don't make parts for it anymore. So there's a lot of stuff that
Right.
we need to cut out and then rebuild and then put in, and so I got picked up for that, and was able to take my wife and my kids. So we worked all the way through the month of December to get it done. Came out on TV, was really cool. Like I didn't want to be on TV. I'd been crazy enough. I've been kicking away TV jobs for years, just because I didn't want to be on TV. As long as you've known me, one of my favorite words is the F word. So, which I actually think I've done pretty well on not saying it today. So,
Yeah.
but so that was the thing, was if I was going to be on TV and I was going to be working in a shop, like it was going to sound like Morse code. And like I didn't even think about it, but my son was the one that pointed it out to me, and I was like, "Yeah, you're not wrong, son." You know, but like I just like all I wanted to do was build cool stuff for my friends, and I didn't want to be on TV, so we finally did our first one. But I had Gas Monkey and Diesel Brothers and all these other guys, and really for me the big thing was I just wanted to be able to spend time with my kids because that first 10 years I was in the military,
Yeah.
my relationship with them was non-existent. So kind of had to sit back and look at things, and like me versus them type deal, and it's more beneficial for them to have their dad in their life than, oh yeah, dad's traveling around for 10 months out of the year shooting a TV show.
Right.
So and I think I think by not doing those TV shows and having that time with my kids, it was much better for me as well as them. I'm not gonna say
Definitely.
it was a walk in the park for them, but it made me appreciate them a little bit more and how complex they are as just little people.
Yeah. I mean, the best thing you can do for them is be present. Something that's hard to do in the military.
Well, yeah, like my dad was in the military, but when I was 14, my dad committed suicide. So, um, I wanted the relationship with my kids that I didn't get to have with my dad. So that's why, like, I was like, no, I'm gonna turn all this stuff down, and like literally the last like 10 years, I would drop my kids off at school, I'd pick them up, um, like try to be like like not to make it sound funny, but like since I was running my own business, I could do like the stay at home mom thing and go
Right.
take care of the kids, um, which
Be a trophy husband.
yeah, like well, I mean, I've always been a trophy husband, but no, like when I got out, my wife followed me around in my career, and she said, "Whatever you want to do, like let's do it." So, I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing right now, but I wanted her to be able to focus on her career while also being able to develop a relationship with my kids, and I've been able to develop some relationships, and I've been able to kind of damage some relationships with my kids because I'm sure they get tired of me, and trying to tell them how to live their life at 18. But
Right.
it's all I want for them is I don't want them making the same fucking mistakes that I did. Um, and life is already bad enough when you're kicking your own ass. When life starts kicking your ass, it doesn't make it any easier.
Yeah.
So, like, my son and my daughter are able to go to college for free. They don't have to pay for their college, which, boy, I would have killed them without having to go into the army. Um,
Yeah.
you know, they've had opportunities that like I didn't have, so I'm happy that I was able to do those for them. But I want them to understand that when those opportunities are made, they come at a cost. Um, Even if it's like for us, we went to college and it came at a cost. It wasn't just there was no bailout for us. It was, oh, you want your bailout? Well, here's the Iraqi surge. Here you go, dude.
Yeah.
Um, so it's just trying to get them to see, hey, there's a lot to be thankful for because I can remember being in Iraq getting a shower every 2 weeks
Yeah.
or getting one meal a day, and you're like, man, like I'm 250 pounds, but I'm starving to death because I get one meal a day. Um, like
Yeah. Go ahead.
it's mind blowing to even think about stuff like that. That like you have to be appreciative, of, like a hot shower. A hot shower where the water's not like filling up to your ankles.
Right. Not having to wear shower shoes.
I'm still weird, bro. I wear house shoes and shower shoes everywhere, man. There's some things that just won't go away, man. Like I'm even my kids. Like if I saw them walk around the house barefooted, I was stepping on their toes. I'm like, where are your house shoes? Like, get your nasty feet off of my tile.
You you got any advice to anybody that would be transitioning out recently or coming up soon?
So the big thing that I will tell people is figure out what you need out of life. if you need to go be the trophy husband, and you can do it fiscally and financially, and you can be smart about it, do it. If you need mental health help, do it. Is as awkward as it sounds, find whatever help you need and go out there and ask for it. Because if you don't go out there and ask for whatever help you need, you have no idea going out, and your experience and my experience can be drastically different. It's kind of like going to the VA. I can go and have a great experience, and you can walk in right behind me and talk to the same two people and have a terrible experience because they're just not willing to help you.
Right.
So um, one thing that I've learned is the more that you talk to the people outside, you start getting into these veteran communities and talking to these people and asking questions. What I've found is almost everyone's gone through some form of you know dumb shit with the VA.
Yeah.
So they can usually tell you who to talk to or how to talk to somebody or what office to talk to somebody to get something done. So get out there and get involved in um, those vet events. I know a lot of people are worried about the VFW and all that stuff, that they're not they don't feel very welcoming. But I'm going to tell you like this: at the end of the day, when you get to talking to the vets, um, regardless organization, they're not out to try to screw you over. They understand what it's like to be walking out and have no idea what's going on and trying to figure it all out.
Right.
So if you could take the time to talk to these guys, you can end up making some allies. And I can tell you like this: since I've gotten out, I've made more allies with Marines than I would have ever imagined. Um, even playing ball, um, just talking to people, just getting out. A lot of people want to know, about me, and I want to know about those people, and I want to know about their experiences, so that way I could try to help them. I went through the old system of getting out. Um, and some of these kids, they don't even know what the old system's about.
No.
These kids that I play ball with are like, I'm like, when did you go into the army? They're like, oh, in 2018, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, oh, you're a baby. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
um,
We've been out for a decade, man.
yeah, for me, it's over a decade. I've been out 12 years, and I'm like, yo, like, where to go?
Yeah.
Because it's flown, but it seems like just yesterday, and even when I see people on Facebook, I see their pictures, but I don't see them as starting to get gray hair. I see them as still young, dumb, and full of
Yeah.
full of it. And I'm sure people don't see me covered in tattoos, looking like a SoundCloud rapper. But really, just get out there, get involved. Don't become an introvert. I'm out. I'm involved in so many different things. I ride a Harley. I used to work at Harley when I moved out here, so I know a lot of people within the community, within the veterans communities. A lot of these guys that ride are veterans. Um, and if you're interested and you want to get out there and you want to get to know some of these vets, go hang out at a Harley on a Saturday. There's free
Right.
beer, free alcohol, um, like quite literally, they make it a party so that way you get out there and you get to know people in your community and stuff like that, and they make sure you're not drinking too much. But I've met some amazing vets. Talk to the guys in the VA when you see them. I talked to a guy that was on the USS Indianapolis when it went down.
Wow.
Yeah, he was one of the few survivors, and I talked to him about his story, and it was just super cool. And he had such a great outlook on life, even though all his buddies died. And it kind of taught me some stuff. And it's just by having a conversation, sitting next to him, and hey, can I borrow your ear, man? What was it like for you? What did you do? Talk to me about you, man. Um,
Yeah,
Guy
and
had
those
an
guys.
amazing story. Like I had to go home after leaving the VA and watch the movie because I'd never like actually like heard the story or watched it, and like I was mortified when I sat there and watched it with Nicolas Cage, like how screwed up our military can be.
Yeah, but those guys left and didn't come back for years. You know, we came back every year and a half, and just fell in that vicious cycle of just repeat, repeat, repeat. I'd much rather just gone, got it over with, and then came back.
It's well, I mean, like, so I get it, man. Like on my first deployment, I had my daughter, and then we were gone for like 15, 18 months. And when I came back, like, I didn't even recognize her. Like, she was running around and talking, and like, so like,
Yeah,
I get it. Like, I can't imagine, like World War II, where those dudes are gone for years and then come back, and their kids are like, yeah, and their old ladies are like, yeah, sorry, moved on, Herbert.
right.
Um, I watch my kids grow up on Yahoo Instant Messengers, so I mean it's better times. But like my dad, we got letters when he was in the Navy. Um, so it's different times, and it's hearing some of these stories from like some of these OGs that served time in the military and like some of the rations that they were eating. Like I'm over here bitching about UGRAs and stuff like that, and they're like, yo. Like, we ate out of cans that were 10 years old. Like, but it gives you a greater appreciation and for not only their efforts during their time, but their efforts after their time, because a lot of these guys made contributions to the veteran community to try to make it better as far as like for service members. Because think about it, like if all these people didn't bitch about how nasty the MREs were after they got out, how bad would they still be?
Right.
So even some of these dudes, I know guys that get out and they work at Raytheon and stuff like that. There's a Raytheon office and a BAE Systems office out here by me that I know a bunch of guys go work at when they get out. So they're still making contributions to make things better, remembering the suck that they went through. So I was like hearing, talking to some of these guys and even some of these kids, one of the guys I played softball with was at the gate in Afghanistan. Um, when when that whole situation went down,
Yeah.
and even though he's a younger kid, to hear his experience and his viewpoint, it makes me grateful that we have people that come back, But I like to get the whole story, figure out what's going on, get their experiences, and make sure that even these young kids coming out feel a little bit better about their service. Because I know a lot of us coming out, we're like, what did we go over there for?
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, the big thing for me, man, is like anybody getting out, um, look into your state, look into your state to see if your state has benefits for veterans getting out. I know Texas is phenomenal about benefits for veterans.
Yeah.
Before you get out, figure out where you want to live. Because you can get dope ass benefits, but also look at like how much is it going to cost you to live there? Is it feasible?
Right.
Um, but ask questions. Ask some of these OGs that have been out for a little bit. Hey, OG, like what do I do on this if I need to get this done? Currently, I'm a little over a month out of one of the state mental hospitals. And so now I got some of these younger kids that are asking me, like, "Hey, man, like that were in there. How do I go about doing a disability claim?" Like,
Yeah.
nobody told me that when I got out. Like, okay, well, here, let me help you out. Let me put you in contact with some people. But your state should have a veterans officer, like a veteran service officer, um, that 9 times out of 10 out of the ones that I've met have experience because they are disabled vets. So they have gone through this stuff. Talk to those guys. Get in there and talk to those guys. I know sometimes they have appointments booked up for a while, but spend the time because these guys they're super knowledgeable. If you want to get a disability claim going, go talk to them. If you want to get as much education benefits out of your state and your GI Bill and stuff like that. These are the guys that talk to you, and these are the guys that literally have boots on ground, so they know the latest and greatest. But use your state veteran service officer. I know, like here in Texas, every county has one. I know some
Yeah,
places that they have one for 3 counties. Um,
that's how Kentucky is.
which is a shame, man, because you figure you have at least 30 veterans in a county.
Oh yeah.
At least, like I would be hard pressed to think that there's a place that has less. Unless you're BFE New Mexico. But and I might have lived there, but get with your veteran service officer. Talk to them. There's a million benefits out here. There's a million different things. Even if you're not disabled, there's a million different things that you can go through. Like out in Texas, they have the Texas Veterans Land Board, where you can get a loan up to like $100,000 for land that's considered rural, which is cool. Like, and it's like you don't have to put any money down on it, so you can do that on top of a conventional bank loan and stuff like that, to get your house. And really, like, you can maximize it so that way you're not paying a whole lot in fees and stuff like that. But these are all things that, like, you can pick up from your veteran service officer. Talk to them. Um, just ask questions and don't be afraid to reach out for help. You know,
That,
don't be too proud to reach out for help. Just like in the military, as NCOs, we're expected to know a lot of things, but the thing is we also have to be expected to know how to research. So we have to be able to go and find the resources that we need. We're not always going to know firsthand where they are, so we got to be able to find them. We got to be able to sometimes help other people find. I think after you get out as an NCO, you don't just lose your mentality as being a leader. You still kind of continue doing it. So most of us are still kind of doing the backbone work.
yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this website podcast was to get all this information out there where people could go and find the resources that they would need, or just something that they wanted to know about.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is like I'm easy to find. I'm easy to find on Facebook. Like I got my name's Shane Clark. They call me the Animal because I got a big old Muppet tattooed on the back of my head. But like, if there's anybody out there that's listening to this, find me on Facebook. Send me a message. Like if you need something, like if you have a question about something, like I try to help people from all different walks of life. Like, and I literally have nothing better to do. Like full disclosure, like most of my day consists of smoking a joint and then riding a lawnmower for 8 hours. So like I don't care. Like I have time to kill. So if somebody needs help with something, um, and they don't know where to go, or like they don't know who to talk to, like they can always reach out to me. My number also, I can leave my number.
Maybe not do that far. Let them reach out to you first.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like my phone stays on 24/7. I used to in New Mexico. I used to work with some of the different police departments when they had some vets that were on the deep end. I would rather not sleep than know that like I missed an opportunity to help somebody. Um,
Agree with that.
like I can deal with no sleep. Like we dealt with it our entire time in the military, and even sometimes dealing with some of our soldiers' issues. It would take sleep, but you did your best to help them out, and that's kind of the same thing. It's the same thing with my kids. If my kids call me at 2 o'clock tomorrow and like, "Hey, Dad, like I'm drunk and I need a ride home," like, cool, I'm gonna come get you. Like, we'll talk about it. Like, I'm not gonna bitch you out, but we just need to develop a plan. But like, way to go for not driving home drunk.
Amen to that.
Um, and it's like I've always kind of been that way. because unfortunately, I can say from working with the VA and asking for help over the last 12 years, you don't always get the help that you ask for out of the VA. So sometimes just talking to somebody and somebody being able to talk you down from a ledge, or like a from a viewpoint, can be beneficial. So I try to make sure that I'm available to talk to people and kind of give them that different viewpoint on, like, hey, while you might feel like a massive pile of shit, like, you're really not. Like, think about it.
Right. It's
So
amazing.
most of the time, that's what people need, is they just need somebody to talk to. So I make myself available. So I really don't have anything else going on. So if somebody needs some help, figuring something out, they're more than welcome to hit me up. I'm pretty easy on that. I want to make sure that people are getting the help that they need, whether it's mind, body, soul. Um, it can be a dangerous place without anybody.
Well, sir, on that, it's been an hour.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, I feel like we could do this all day, probably.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's so many different stories about military time and just experience out that I'm sure you can make it like a Joe Rogan podcast where it goes on for years.
I mean, that'd be cool to get to that point where we could just sit and hit the record button for 3 hours and just hang out. And but definitely gonna keep it a little more limited now.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate this opportunity, man. Like, man, it's kind of like a trip down memory lane.
Yeah, I appreciate you getting on here and sharing your story with everybody.
Yeah, no problem.
So we're gonna go ahead and end this. Thanks for everybody tuning in, and see you next time.
Have a good one.